Hi, I'm Nico de Sousa, and I'm a lean and continuous improvement content expert with the DVIRC.
And I'm Brian Deal, also with DVIRC, supporting strategy and supply chain services. Today we're going to take a look at some iconic scenes from movies and TV shows that highlight how companies tackle the issues within their operations and the problem-solving techniques they can use.
Now, some of these videos are going to be a little bit exaggerated for entertainment value.
Time is a precious thing, never wasted.
But they do a good job reflecting some true-life problems and opportunities that we see all the time in the field.
And we're also going to highlight some of the things they do well.
I like this, Daryl. I like this a lot.
Some of the things they do poorly. And what are the concepts and best practices in continuous improvement and supply chain that they can use.
In Japan, our goal is 0% defect.
And we'll also highlight what DVIRC can do to help you. So you ready?
Ready to go.
Let's go.
So we're going to start off watching a clip from the movie Ford versus Ferrari.
Tire.
So this looks like a pit crew.
So this is an interesting concept here because there are a lot of parallels between racing and manufacturing when you think about it. When you think about what adds value on the racetrack, it's every second that the car is racing on the track. Now, during the race, there are critical activities that need to happen in order for the car to run successfully, things like refueling or changing tires. And the same applies with manufacturing. If you think about it, we run production equipment, and in the process of running production equipment, we need to do things like maintenance. But another core element of manufacturing is changeovers, when we go from one product to another. Now, it is a very critical activity that needs to be done. But if you think about it, it's not really adding any value. What adds value is every second that that machine is running. So there's a very strong focus on trying to keep machines running, i.e., how can we speed up changeover similar to a pit crew?
So in a factory, they're not making money when the machine's down.
Nope, they are not.
That doesn't look efficient.
Not at all. So I think this clip illustrates the evolution of pit stops throughout the years. You know, when you think about a pit stop now, currently, I mean, you see those cars enter the pit stop.
It doesn't look like that.
And they're out in the blink of an eye. Again, going back to the notion that, hey, every single second that a car is on the track, that's one more second that we have towards winning this race. So it kind of illustrates how far we've come along. And the same applies with manufacturing. The more that we can try to eliminate some of that time that we lose during product changeovers, the more that we benefit.
Hey there, Walt. Good to see you.
Yeah, after I get out of this pit, Shelby, it's the last time you will.
Oh, don't worry. We got rear view mirrors.
Now we're going to watch a clip from the movie The Founder.
It's like a pretty busy fast food place.
It does. So there are a couple of things that jump out to me when I'm watching this scene, and it's this concept of standardization or standard work. When we think about just the reality of manufacturing, it's very common that we tend to see things like defective materials or process delays or training issues. And one of the biggest tools or concepts that we have at our disposal to try to address these inadvertent events is standardizing or standardization. The more that we can standardize, the less that we stand to see variation in our processes. So when I see things like standardizing down to the drops of ketchup and mustard and the quantity of pickles and the placement, essentially that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to eliminate variation in their process, whether it's a burger that's taking longer to get out the kitchen or a burger that wasn't assembled properly.
Yeah. And the other thing here I see is it carries upstream, right? You look at the products they're using, pretty uniform, pretty standard, right? So there's obviously upstream with their suppliers. They're doing something to make sure that they understand the spec that they want.
Every McDonald's burger has 2 pickles, pinch of onions, and a precise shot of ketchup and mustard.
Now, where'd you get those?
We made them.
Made them.
Yeah, custom built. The whole kitchen is. Next
That is.
the finishing station where we put the whole thing together.
So there's a couple other elements that I just want to pull out of this one clip. First, you saw the gentleman with the stopwatch.
Yeah.
There's this concept in lean manufacturing, which is takt time, right? Which is the time that we have to make something divided by the quantity that we actually have to make. That's essentially setting the pace or the rhythm, the takt for which production should be done. So in this case, it seems like they did a good job kind of identifying what that number they wanted it to be, and then developing a process to that takt time to get burgers out to the customers in an efficient manner.
So the standardization of the product plus, meeting the customer demand is probably setting a pretty good tone for their customers' expectations.
That's correct.
And voila, a fresh, delicious burger from grill to counter in 30 seconds.
All right, so we're gonna watch another clip from the movie The Founder, and I wanted to preface the video by first saying that a lot of companies find difficulties in scaling up, and a lot of times the reason is because of just how the layout of the facility is. So we're gonna look at a clip where the founders of McDonald's actually perform a very nice exercise on facility layout to determine what is the most effective and efficient setup for their kitchen.
Have them go through the motions, making pretend burgers and fries.
All right, Steve, anticipate that. You gotta keep the tray level. Okay.
And Dick is running around with this stick, marking where all the equipment should be.
Tuck in. Tony, are you gonna skip the pickles when we're really doing it?
They do it over and over, hashing it out, choreographing it like some crazy burger ballet.
What's going on over there?
Yes. No. No.
So there's a very simple tool that's out there that's called the spaghetti diagram, which essentially you're taking a representation of a floor area, and you're just tracing, mapping out all the footsteps and travel that either a person or a forklift or material has to travel in that facility. And so the outcome of doing a spaghetti diagram is you get to see, hey, do we have threads that are very long? And those are opportunities for us to say, hey, maybe we should shorten some of those threads to eliminate some of that motion and transportation waste. And also you want to look at for high congestion areas. So do we have areas in the facility where there are a lot of lines kind of crossing and dark areas of back and forth? And if so, then that's an opportunity to see how can we alleviate some of that? Can we rearrange things so that we can maybe eliminate some of that congestion?
Yeah. And it's got to be a lot cheaper to do it on paper.
Exactly,
and
or in
real
a
life.
tennis court in this case, right?
Yep.
See all this open space here now? We've rearranged the fry situation, so now it's stage left, the deep fryer stage right. Begin. That's great. Come on, guys.
They're pretty tied up here.
Yeah, watch it.
The Lazy Susan.
It's the timing of the Lazy Susan. Those are finished burgers. You can't... Hold it. I still think there's a third version.
What do you want to move?
I want to move everything. Back to stage left, please.
So this is another great just concept of facility layout. They're coming up with different layouts of the facility, they're testing them out, and in the spirit of continuous improvement, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? Even though it seemed like they had a layout that maybe could have worked,
Right.
The question was still there, hey, maybe this could be a little bit better, and maybe there is a third way in this case.
So being comfortable with doing multiple iterations, right?
Exactly right.
Finally, after about 6 hours of this, we get it just right. It's a symphony of efficiency, not a wasted motion.
So that's a great clip, and ultimately that's the goal of facility layout, is you want to eliminate some of that motion and transportation waste. The more that we can eliminate that, the more efficient your operations get.
And it's obviously worked for them.
Yeah, I would say so.
Ta-da, the Speed D system is born.
All right, so the next clip we have here is from Office Space. I think a lot of people know this one. So what we're seeing in our next clip is two consultants interviewing an employee to understand, what are their job duties and what are they doing on a daily basis, and to find opportunities to drive some value.
What you do at Initech is you take the specifications from the customers and you bring them down to the software engineers.
Yes, that's right.
Well, then I just have to ask, why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people, huh?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because engineers are not good at dealing with customers.
So you physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no, my secretary does that, or the fax.
So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
Yeah, so that's a good one. I think it highlights two things, right? Definitely waste. Waste is, it doesn't have to be on the factory floor, right? There's administrative waste that a lot of organizations don't recognize. And then also, what are people doing? Job descriptions, job expectations.
Yeah, just an understanding of roles and responsibilities. And to your point, waste exists everywhere, not just on the production floor, but in front office, ancillary departments as well. So this is just a classic example of a non-value added role. Maybe not necessarily person, just role, right? And maybe we could put that individual to better use in another area.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people.
So Nico, we're gonna go deep in the vault here. We've got a couple scenes from Gung Ho. Concept in the movie is US manufacturers are struggling. The Japanese have partnered with a manufacturer, and there's a little disconnect of cultures and manufacturing concepts. So definitely a lot of opportunities for the company and the individuals to learn. The first clip here, we see that people have good intentions, but sometimes without guidance and standard work, etc., it doesn't help, right? So let's take a look. Looks like some training could be used here,
so
right?
there's a little bit going on here. So to take a kind of step back, a lot of people associate lean manufacturing with Japan and specifically with the automobile industry and specifically with Toyota.
Yeah.
Even though I'd make the argument that a lot of lean concepts predate a lot of that stuff. If you think back to like Henry Ford, for instance, and the credit he's given with the assembly line and elimination of transportation motion waste, you could say that that's a lean concept, right? So in my opinion, lean thinking has always been around, but we do give credit where credit's due, because a lot of the tools and concepts that we know about today do come from post-World War II Japan. And I think the brunt of it was definitely seen in the late 70s, early 80s, again, specifically with the automobile industry. So it's kind of interesting that a whole movie was made kind of portraying, now it is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it does portray some of the stuff that was going on in that time period. And in this specific scene right here, the gentleman looks like they're drilling into the bottom of the car, and the supervisor or foreman comes over and says, hey, not all over the place, you need to go here, here, here. And it's kind of highlighting this importance of standard work. Again, if we don't create standards to how a job should be done, then it's only expected variation might happen. So in this case, that's the difference between producing a good car, a bad car, producing a car in the time that you're given or you're supposed to be doing, or not, right? So just kind of highlighting the importance of standard work.
Hey, Hunt, would you get Mr. Moto here off my back?
He refuses to learn proper.
Well, the guy can't even say it,
Technical.
They're moving us all over the place here. Why can't we just do what we know how to do?
Every man learns every job, then we are a team. No man is special.
This is another concept that I just want to pull out of this clip too, which is this notion of high-performing teams. There's a lot of characteristics and qualities that go into a high-performing team, but one of the main bullet points in that list is high-performing teams are made up of people that have multiple skills and capabilities. So cross-training. The more that we train our folks, the more that they're able to perform different jobs, different roles within the organization, the higher performing that team's going to be. So just kind of illustrating the point. Seems like there was some resistance in the video because it seems like he didn't want to train in other areas. He just wanted to do the one job that he knew how to do very well.
Doesn't feel natural.
But doesn't necessarily make the collective better in this case.
Right.
So we're going to take another look at a clip from Gung Ho, this time focusing a little bit more on quality.
Defecto. Now that's something for the dealer to worry about. Every car can't be perfect.
In Japan, it sells defect. Worker is a shame. He stays night to fix. In Japan, our goal is 0% defect.
How'd you slip by?
So, there's a lot of interesting things to take out of this clip as well. Primarily, the biggest one is quality and quality at the source, which is basically saying, hey, before we move anything to the next step, we want to make sure that it's of the best quality possible. And the reason being is because one of two things might happen. The more severe cases, you might end up with a bad product, a defective product, leaving the facility and in the hands of a customer, which is not ideal. The other issue, which is not as severe but still bad, is maybe we do catch the issue, but now that causes us to have to stop, do some rework, which is not good either.
Money and waste, right?
Exactly. Over-processing for that.
And to add, this also ties to supply chain management principles when you talk about managing suppliers, right? You have to have the customer in mind and understand, what are they really paying for?
Right. And so this, to me, this is a perfect opportunity for some better root cause analysis practices. Understanding what that issue was that was made, kind of getting together as a team to discuss why was that issue made, and more importantly, what do we need to do so that that specific issue doesn't happen again? Because the last thing that we want is for these poor workers to have to keep catching that same issue down the line. So here we're going to see a clip from the show The Office that illustrates the importance of quality.
Where's Creed? Creed?
Here.
Quality assurance. Your job. I really think you screwed the pooch on this one, Creed. Because of you, the entire company is in jeopardy.
Every week I'm supposed to take 4 hours and do a quality spot check at the paper mill. And of course, the 1 year I blow it off, this happens.
There's a lot of stuff you probably shouldn't do that you could pull from The Office. But I was just going to say real quick with this video, again, quality is paramount. The importance of making sure that everything that you produce is of the highest standard and to customer specifications. Again, in this case, if something were to leave the facility that was not correct, then there's obviously big implications with that. There is one thing I do want to highlight though with this clip, which is this notion of inspections and audits. Now, forever and always, companies, they're going to have to do inspections and audits. It's something that we're not going to ever get away with. But unfortunately, a lot of companies think that the first solution to making better quality product is just, let's throw another set of eyes. Let's get another inspection or another audit. And in my opinion and in experience, it doesn't always work, right? We're human beings. We're not going to catch 100% of the issues that happen all the time, nor does just an inspection do anything to prevent a mistake from happening again in the future. So what I'm a bigger proponent of, if I want to improve quality, it's not to go to inspection first. It should be, how do we make this defect physically impossible from happening in the first place? I want to make it so that this process is so robust, so bulletproof that these mistakes, these issues will never happen in the first place. And it's a concept that, in English, we call it mistake proofing. In Japanese, it's pokeyoke, but essentially it's the same thing. We want to make this process so bulletproof that these issues won't happen. So think about things like machines with, you need to have two hands to engaged in order for that machine to run. Imagine if that wasn't a thing. Somebody could get hurt on the job. Think about light curtains on equipment, or using things like templates, jigs, fixtures. These are all different forms of pokeyokes or mistake proofing. So when I go back to this clip and I think about quality, right? How do I ensure better quality? Well, me personally, my first response is, well, let's not just throw more inspections and audits. How can I make this process better so that these mistakes don't happen in the first place? And if we can't find the solution doing that first, then maybe we resort to more inspections and audits.
And I would also add, if you look at, is this something that's happening upstream, your supplier, right? Understanding what are the best practices for supplier management you're doing here. Do they have the right specification, right? Are they self-inspecting? And then, do you have a scorecard that is actually gauging how well they're performing on service and delivery?
Right.
This ties from top to bottom, right? From your supplier down to the customers, right? And if you let it flow down, ultimately it can, get in the hands of your customers. And that is the absolute worst case scenario from, a quality perspective, continuous improvement perspective, supply chain perspective.
All right.
We have a lot of angry customers out there. This puts us at threat level midnight.
All right, so this is another scene from The Office where Michael's receiving some feedback, potentially good ideas from an employee, and really, one, not listening, and two, not embracing if there is substance there. So I think we see this happen often, and we deem it as people waste.
Oh, so I almost forgot. You'll find this hilarious. Apparently, corporate is going to have drivers sell paper on their routes now. That's like exactly sort of the idea that you had.
Yes. I do remember saying something like that to you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I blew this. You should have gotten credit for that, man.
I'm just glad we're gonna try it out.
Really? We're good?
We're cool.
Okay. Okay.
What's that in your shirt?
Oh, that's a ream of paper. Thought you might hit me.
Yeah, this is a classic example of either not listening or not valuing our people's mental, physical, and creative abilities. In this case, an idea that Daryl had.
Yep.
Little delivery/sales idea. You know whose that was? That was Daryl Philbin's. He thought of that way before the corporate fat suits.
So what happened?
I got in the way. I said no. And it just stopped. But then corporate comes up with this idea. But you know what? They need to know that it was yours. And I don't care if I take a bullet. We're going to call them. We're going to put them on speakerphone right now. And we are going to straighten this out.
So the largest resource any company has is its people,
Yep.
right? And it's going to sound unfortunate what I'm about to say, but a lot of companies, you might go out there and you might talk to the individuals that work on the shop floor and you'll ask them questions, things like, does your supervisor or manager ever come up to you for your ideas or your opinions on things? Do they seek your input before doing something? Do they share results with you? Do you know if you had a good day or a bad day yesterday, let alone a good week or a bad week? Do they ask you what type of trainings you would like to receive or what things you would like to learn? And the answer to all those questions is no, right? My boss never asked me about my opinion. I mean, I have them, but there's no space for me to share. My boss never shares results with me. I just punch in and I go right to work. Or, I legitimately, I want to learn. I want to become better. I want to develop at this company, but there's no opportunities for me to learn. So in every single one of those cases, people waste, unfortunately. So, this clip is highlighting the importance of not doing that, right? To make sure that you listen to your employees, you actively seek their opinions, their input, get their ideas on how we can do things differently, how we can make things better, provide them training, share with them results, let them know, hey, are we winning, are we losing? And really kind of, again, take advantage of your people's mental, physical, and creative abilities.
Yeah, and the challenge is, organizations are so busy, right? The people in those organizations are so busy. So I think, one of the best practices is creating, the process, the space, the environment, a structured environment for that feedback to grow, to have a parking lot where ideas can go, just so they're not either thrown out in the ether or when people are busy, somebody comes up with an idea, but then it just fades because people are busy.
So here we have one more clip from The Office where we're going to look at it, just a very simple example of the importance or power of process mapping.
Daryl?
Daryl, mellow, soulful, smart for warehouse.
Okay, hush now.
Okay.
The Sabre shipping method could be more efficient. Combining inventory systems makes sense on paper, but printers and paper ship differently. It would be faster to deliver them separately instead of waiting on everything to come in.
You wouldn't need more trucks?
Not at all. There's a way it can be scheduled. I'll sketch this out downstairs.
Oh, look at you.
Look at that picture that you drew. Nice job. We're very proud of you. You know what? We're going to tape that up on the refrigerator in the kitchen.
I like this, Daryl. I like this a lot.
So this is highlighting a key concept within lean manufacturing, which is this notion of value stream mapping, right? Value stream mapping is essentially it's a visual representation of a process from start to finish. It incorporates elements like suppliers to a process, customers to a process. It maps out material flows, information flow, communication flows. And with the idea of trying to identify and illustrate waste or inefficiencies in that process. And, in this case, it didn't seem like it was specifically a value stream map, but in general, there's a lot of benefit that companies can get from just simply putting their process on a piece of paper, whether it's a sophisticated value stream map with all the bells and whistles and icons and information, or whether it's just a simple flow chart. Just putting a process on a piece of paper and looking at it visually can provide a lot of impact in identifying, hey, where do we have problems? Where do we have pain points and headaches and frustration? And where can we implement some of these tools and best practices?
Yeah, and like you said, it doesn't have to be within the four walls of XYZ company, right? It can go upstream to the suppliers, right? An example could be, hey, supplier is delivering, pallets wrapped in a certain way, and the company that's receiving those pallets has to, strip them and spend all the extra time when it only needs, maybe, half the packaging or whatever.
Right.
And then going further downstream, you as a company, how are you engaging in a manner with your customer that's potentially adding waste, right? So looking at those things through, suppliers and your customers.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be doing your sketching upstairs.
Yeah, so Daryl's also looking at, he's looking at, the holistic cost approach, right? And I think it's Kathy Bates or somebody brings up, well, won't we need more trucks, right? But looking at doing the math, right? Putting pen to paper, figuring out like, no, there's actually an offset here, right? So I think, when you're designing a system, it's really being, detailed oriented. You might not find a complete win, but there's usually some opportunity to the positive.
Right. And would you say that in this case, this is also kind of an example of the importance of product segmentation as well?
Absolutely. So the notion here was, well, we're delivering more value by having the paper and the printers together, right? But then you can say, okay, it's okay to separate these things. As long as in the eyes of the customer, it doesn't hurt, there's value there.
Right.
Thanks for watching with us. We had a lot of fun checking out these scenes from various movies and TV shows that highlight, in a fun way, some of the challenges that organizations have around continuous improvement in supply chain.
At the DVIRC, we help companies tackle these challenges every day, whether it's simple process improvement, strengthening supply chains, or helping companies jumpstart their continuous improvement culture.
And at DVIRC, we have the people and resources to help your organization, whether it's upskilling the workforce, learning new ways to tackle your problems, we're here to help.